Welcome to Mad About Money. I'm Maddy Alexander-Grout, and this is the podcast where we talk to interesting people all about their interesting money stories. I cannot even fucking believe that I have such an incredible guest with us today. The amazing Dani Wallace, who is just the epitome of like visibility. She's a speaking coach. She's a producer. She's got a fucking documentary coming out about her. She is everywhere. She is one of the most inspiring people that I think I've ever had the pleasure of being in her company. She's a friend. She's just the most inspiring person. And I'm absolutely honoured to have her as my guest today.
Oh, hello.
Hi. I mean, this has been a long bloody time coming, hasn't it, really?
It's been 2 years, Maddy. It's been 2 years for us to sit and have a conversation like this. So I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. And like, first of all, I just want to commend you on your amazing on-brandness. Like, it's just fantastic. Like, I feel like my personal brand, I'm always rainbow, but today I'm so black. I never wear black. It's because I'm feeling like I should be matching you. I've got some yellow down here. I'll just just get some yellow on me as well.
For the purpose of the people that aren't like watching this, actually directly before we hit go live, I'm just wearing a black sweatshirt and I was like, oh, are we video? Right, let me get some branding on. Let me turn up a little bit.
So Dani is the queen bee. And the thing about Dani is she's always on brand. She has by the way, she also has the most. I think you need to get them out because, and I'm not talking.
Whoa.
Dani has the most incredible tattoos that I have ever seen. And like, I have the biggest girl crush on Dani's tattoos. Like, I feel every time I look at, and you have inspired me actually, because I have now decided to get some patchwork done on my leg. So
I love that. So,
I want a bee. Do me a bee. Oh,
I will do you a bee. Now, like, as a storyteller, so my job's storytelling, right? And I made a really conscious decision when I moved out of corporate work to come work for myself that I would get a job stopper. So one of the first things that I got tattooed quite heavily was my hands. Because my grandma, when I was growing up, was like, don't ever get a tattoo on a visible place in your body. If you're going to get a tattoo, make sure they're covered up. Even better, don't get a tattoo. So I was like, as soon as I came out of corporate, I was like straight at the tattoo studio. I was like, tattoo my hands. I'm not working for anybody else ever again.
That is amazing. I love that as an idea. Like, so for me, I am also the same. My grandparents are actually fucking minted. And my grandpa said to me before he died, if you ever get a tattoo, I'm going to disown you and you will be eliminated from our will.
Wow.
Like, probably shouldn't show him shouldn't show him my bum then, because there's already some there.
That is a strong statement, isn't it? And it just goes to show how attached people are to certain things. So for me, it was a bit of a statement kind of to myself and the world. And actually in as the world's progressed since then, it isn't as controversial, I guess, in many more circles than it was previously. As I was a performer for years and years, and I wasn't allowed any visible tattoos because I had to be in and out of different characters. And the companies that I worked for was like, no visible tattoos, you're just not allowed them. I was like, right, now I am covered from my neck to my toes.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's expression and it's art, and like, I think it really pisses me off because it's like it's our bodies, you know. We have the right to do what we want. It's like when I was in corporate, I wasn't allowed to have coloured hair. So same for me. The first thing I did as soon as I left corporate was I went back to the hair that I had always had throughout my entire life until I started in a like proper job.
A proper job.
Yeah. I mean, like when I was at uni, like I always had really bright hair. This is probably the least bright it's been for ages. But
I think when we met, you had blue hair.
I probably did. Yeah. I think I've had all sorts of different colours, and like, but it's my expression. And you know, I said to my husband, I was like, because like my patchwork idea originally was going to be on my arm, and my husband was like, don't get it on your arm. I hate tattoos. And I'm like, so you're going to say that you hate your wife then?
So
And it just, in my brain, I'm like, I'm just going to get it done just to go, fuck you. And then I was like, actually, like, he is my husband and I do
Let's
love
think about this though, Maddy. Like, if from a neurodivergent point of view, if you've got pathological demand avoidance and someone's telling you not to do something, guess what? I'm booking tomorrow, babes.
I know, right? So, but also my ADHD when it comes to tattoos, like I have a million ideas of what I want. So this is why I thought, right, I'm going to get patchwork because then I can keep my dopamine levels up
Yep.
by doing little ones every now and again. I can have like one a month if I want to.
Exactly
and
that.
They don't have to relate to each other and it's all good. So I've got like a long list of the things that I want to have. And I'm like, one of them is a bee. And I was like, oh my God, Dani could do that for me. Like you
I
could
will
totally
do
draw
you
me a
a
little.
bee. One of my friends, the incredible Lisa Johnson, actually, is notoriously terrible at art, like really terrible at drawing. And I got her to draw me a bee. I said, Lisa, if you're going to draw me a bee, I'll get it tattooed on me. Because me and Lisa have an incredible story together. And I know we're going to be talking about money today. But the tattoos that I have they tell stories. So I always get a tattoo when something pivotal happens, when, you know, when there's been a change or when there's been something that's happened that's affected me, or I've met somebody, and not even romantically, just like if I've met somebody that's been pivotal. Lisa was one of those people, and she drew me a bee. And honestly, Maddy, it looked like a stripy hippo. She forgot to put wings on it.
Have you had it done yet?
I've had it done. It's on my leg, yeah.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it. But you actually have tattooists at your events, don't you?
I absolutely do, yeah. And one of the things about my event, so I have an event called the Big Festoon, and the premise is safe spaces to have conversations that matter. So we take into consideration lots of different things, which include catering for neurodivergent people, which includes catering for disabled people, catering for people from lots of different types of background, creating safe spaces for the queer community, for the Black community, places where we can come and actually be together, and how we identify not be what we focus on. Connection be the thing that we focus on. Learning and success be the things that we focus on. And I really believe doing that through joy and through doing that like out of context is the way to go. I'm known for having lots of tattoos, so it makes sense for me as part of my expo experience at my events to have a tattoo artist. And they were booked up. There was like people queuing for tattoos at this business event.
That is just the best thing ever. And this is the thing, it just makes it so much more unique and so you. And this is the thing that I love so much about you. You show up unashamedly, unapologetically as you all the fucking time. And like, I think people can take so many lessons from like, be a bit more Dani. Like,
or be a bit more them, Maddy, I think is the thing. It's like not even like be more me, just because I am so much me.
Sure, yeah. I mean, like I always have this thing where like if I'm stuck in a situation, whether it like whatever it is, there are certain people that I'm like, what would Dani do? Like, Taz is another one, Taz Thornton. Like, yes. I'm like, what would Taz do? Like, and Taz would like, I know Taz would tell me to stop being a fucking baby and grow up and go and do the thing, because you know she's my coach and she does these things and like, but she's always behind me, like pushing me along. And you're one of those people. And like, if I'm trying to make a decision on something, I'm like, be a bit more Dani. What would Dani do?
Like, I would say lean in, like always lean in, like especially if you're scared about something or you're feeling a little bit of friction around something. Actually, if you're feeling friction around something, that's where the magic happens. If you're scared of something, it means on the other side of that, something really great is living there, and you want to get to that. So you've got to lean in. I think that's like, if ever there's a what would Dani do, it's where can we create mischief and joy, and what's on the other side of the thing that you're scared of, because that's the thing that you actually want. So you probably need to lean into the thing that you're scared of.
Exactly. So I'm going to ask you the question that I ask every person who comes on this podcast. What is your money story?
Thank you so much for asking. And I'm really, I'm excited to share my money story with you, Maddy, because I'm hoping that in sharing this, the people that are listening and the people that are watching will be able to relate to it and hopefully have a little bit of a gear switch, because I grew up on the council estates of Preston. We were just below the breadline poor, I guess is the best way to describe it. So a lot of everything that we did was kind of month to month. We didn't have enough money to really do anything. There was a lot of kind of local borrowing that went on, very short-term, high-interest loans that my mum would take out to kind of get us from either month to month or from Christmas to Christmas, for example. And whenever people knocked on the door, it's because somebody wanted money. So I remember the knock at the door being hide behind the settee because not in. We're not in, just in case it's the man from the Pru or whoever it was to come and like collect on these sort of short-term high-interest loans. And eventually, because of the chaotic situation that was how I grew up, my dad was an alcoholic. There was a lot of domestic abuse that was sort of inherent within the family. That eventually we lost our house. And so money was always something that inherently, through my family, through my community, we just didn't have. There wasn't a lot of it. Anyone who did have it was not really connected to us. So it was so far removed. It's like to have any kind of excess of money, you were a flash bastard. Or, you know, it was quite derogatory to have money because the people that didn't have it didn't know how to acquire it, or they hadn't acquired any through generational wealth or anything like that. So it was just a concept that was sort of wild to members of my family. Or if somebody did make money, they were put on a pedestal even, and they were almost removed from the family by, they didn't know how to converse. So one of my uncles, for example, went and made quite a significant amount of money, and the rest of the family didn't know how to connect with him anymore. And he sort of ostracized himself because he didn't know how to connect with the family either. So there was so many interesting thoughts around money in terms of the information that I was given when I was growing up. And one of the things that I always remember was whenever we wanted to do anything that cost more than we was able to afford, the party line was when we win the lottery. So
the amount of times my husband says that to me.
Yeah. So my mum always wanted to take us to Disneyland. It was one of her dreams, right, when we were younger. She really wanted to take us to Disneyland when we won the lottery. And for me, what that did is it took the ability to create wealth and to generate money out of our own hands, out of her hands, and into the hands of luck and fate. And it's only going to be if luck or fate ordains you with that money, then you will be able to afford it, and your chances are slim, so you might as well put that dream to one side. That, I come back to that as an inherent thought from, if I think about little Dan, if I think about little me, we won't be able to do those things then, because I'm not particularly lucky.
It's so weird that you say that. So I literally, about 2 days ago, I had this conversation with my husband. We were looking at houses because we're planning on moving this year, and he was showing me the house, the like if we win the lottery house. And I said to him, we have more chance of me making the money to buy that house than us winning that lottery.
Right.
And he was like, well, no, we don't. And I went, right. First of all, we need to have a rethink about like our relationship, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to be my husband. You're supposed to be supporting me. You can see how much my business is growing. You keep telling me how proud you are of me. What is to stop me from buying that 500 grand house, or even something bigger? And he went, all right, fair point. And I was like, yeah, true. I'm going to fucking tell you that I'm going to get that house. It's going on my vision board. It's happening. And then we had another conversation about how I want to go to one of, you know, those massive, big American festivals.
Oh my goodness.
They have, like, all of the fucking amazing, like, punk and rock bands. That's what I'm doing. That is on my I've just put it on my vision board. I am going to go to something like one of these, like, you know, the newfangled Vans Warped Tours. That is my vision board. It's going on that now.
Like the equivalent of like Lollapalooza, Coachella for the rock situation. I love that.
Absolutely that. And that is what I'm going to do, because festivals bring me joy. Music brings me joy. And I realised the other day, I was looking at what I spend my money on, and it's going to see bands. I don't go and do anything else. Like literally, but that's where I love, you know, that's my love. So.
And how interesting is it, Maddy, that isn't actually millions and millions of pounds for you to be able to do that. So it's actually well within the grasp of what you're capable of.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how many times you want to see a band. I mean, I might have just booked like 4 different dates for You Me at 6. It's because they're one of my favourite bands and I want to see them. And do you know what? Fuck it, it's my money. And James was like, oh, why are you going to see them at 4 different places? And like, you're spending all this money. And I was like, I've earned that money and I'm going to go and see them because they're breaking up next year and I'm never going to be able to see them again. So like, that's why I'm going 4 times. So fuck you, husband. And you had, yeah, fair point. I mean, I do put him in his place a lot. Like, I think, you know, when you have a husband that is a kind of like, and he'll never listen to this, so I can totally say it openly. He is not like a really, he gets paid fairly well for his job, but he's employed. Like he's got no ambition in terms of like, you know, he tried self-employment. He was terrible at it. So, you know,
it takes a certain type of person to have the stones to be able to like hold your water when it comes to being an entrepreneur, for sure.
But typical ADHD. I interrupted you in your flow. Go back.
That's all right. No, it's all good. It's hey, it all feeds the conversation, right?
It does.
So for me, in my formative years, it was you earn within your pay grade. So whatever that is, and the majority of the people that I was surrounded by didn't necessarily engage in academia past college. So they go to school, they go out to work. So they didn't do anything. Say if you needed a degree to do a certain job, work in law or whatever, or you needed higher education in order to enter into the workforce at that kind of higher pay bracket. Lots of people around me didn't really particularly do that. They were hustlers, they were grinders, they were workers. They would do what they needed to do in order to make ends meet. And that actually created a lot of tenacity and a lot of resilience. But because of the inherent thought around money and the generation of money and what we do when we get money, it meant that nobody kind of broke that kind of wealth ceiling. So I'm thinking, well, I need to get a job. And that job is whatever I was getting paid for at the time. And at the time when I essentially ran away with the circus when I was 16 to escape the chaos of my house. Not the actual circus. I'm a performer, I'm a singer. Like that's my trade. From one of the things that actually kept everybody safe, stopped people from arguing, is if I was singing or I was being funny, no one was fighting. And so what I did is I kind of just really sharpened up all those tools and went to go and work in the performance space. So I worked all over the world. I was singing in an employed capacity, not in a self-employed capacity. So it was to get a wage every month, and that wage would be so much, and there was no other space or bandwidth to earn anything else outside of that wage. So the theory behind, or what I had in my head, was you work whatever hours that it is that you work within a month, you get paid that set amount of salary, and there the glass ceiling is, unless you get promoted and so on and so forth. What I realized was, once I came out of corporate, because I found myself in a position about 13 years ago now, where I'd experienced domestic abuse myself and ended up homeless. I was actually repeating the cycle that my mum had experienced. And I made a decision in that point that either life was going to happen to me, or I needed to start making decisions about money. I needed to start making decisions about the direction that I was going in. And so I came out of corporate, I stopped, and that was a real hold your breath moment. I kind of took a trust fall with myself. My work ethic is great. Like, I'll work really, really hard for something that I love doing. You know, I have particular interest in performance and teaching and empowering people. And it started to create a bit of an audience around that, but needed to understand that I had the autonomy to really break that glass ceiling, that if somebody wasn't paying me a set amount every month, I needed a commodity that I could grow and scale. And so then I started to apply my work ethic to my thoughts around money and my thoughts around like money generation and eventually wealth generation. But I only was able to do that once I'd broken out of that kind of cage of employment to allow myself bandwidth, in tandem with surrounding myself with people who knew how to make money. So
and is like, I love the fact that you've said that, because I think I had, when you work in the money industry, especially when you work with people who are in debt or who can't afford things, and you're constantly, even if you're not in that lack mindset, the people you work with are in that lack mindset. I feel like that held me back for so many years. And, you know, of course, you know, with Mad About Money app, I still do help people in that situation, but I help people on that journey, that path, that like pushing forward one step every single day. And I used to be terrified, like, and I've been really open and honest about this, like I used to be terrified of people like Lisa Johnson. Like I was terrified, like I just thought, like, I can't be anything like her because I'm not good enough. I can't make the money because she is amazing at what she does and I'm just little old me and I can't make that money. And I spent so long being jealous of people who were doing better than me.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half ago, I had nothing. Like my business had fallen. I had lost everything that I'd worked towards overnight. And I went back to one-to-many and I looked at it and I looked at it and I thought, what can I do? And it came to me, I've been helping so many people for free to grow their business. I've got 4,000 people who like used to come to me and go, Maddy, how do I do this? Like, how do I get visible? How do I grow my social media? And I just used to help them for free. And I thought, I've actually got a skill here, like that I could sell. A year and a half later, but using my newfound confidence, my newfound knowledge, completely ditching all of my previous money mindset blocks, because that's what they were, and embracing the fact that actually I want to be like the people who I've been jealous of.
Yes.
And when you start working with those people and start entering them into your world, and instead of looking at them as somebody who's doing better than you, aspiring to be like them and learning from them to grow and collaborate.
That is a gear shift. That is such a gear shift.
Such a game changer.
Yeah. And
like, I cannot stress. Like, I mean, I've still got people in my membership now who are like, you know, I've got probably 7 or 8 ADHD coaches. I've got people who do the same thing as me, and we're all planning stuff together and we're all doing these things. I've got like 11 parenting coaches in my membership, and they're all like, oh, but that person's like doing it, that person's got more followers than me, that person's doing that thing, and
there's 8 billion people in the world, you can't serve all of them,
right? Exactly. And we're building this like amazing community where it's collaboration over competition. You learn from everybody around you, and it's so empowering when you realize that those people who are that one step ahead of you, you can be there in a year's time.
Yeah.
It's not the like Lisa Johnson is a multi-millionaire. Like, I know I'm not going to get there next year.
She's only done that in 6 years. Here's the thing though, she's done that in 6 years, and I've known her for 5 of those 6 years.
Yeah.
So if I think about, or if we were to like sort of collectively think about that when you've got a formula for something and you're able to rinse and repeat that, when it comes to money, that becomes, you know, you've just got to work out the game, the machine. Like, if you understand the cogs that were, and then understand that the fuel that gets you to a certain place isn't necessarily the fuel that gets you to the next place, and so on and so forth. Once you understand how to play the chess pieces, the money just happens around it. Money's just energy exchange, right?
It is.
And that key bit for, you know, when you just said about understanding, when you shift from jealousy to curiosity about yourself and about that person then becomes almost like the oracle. They become the encyclopedia. They become the compass. And that's what I went and actively sought out. I stopped being scared of, I don't know what to do, to who's doing the thing, and then seeking out those people. And in humility saying, is this something that you teach? That person saying yes, and saying, right, okay, I'm an open book. I have no problem showing up. I'll show up to the opening of an envelope, but I didn't know what to do in order to generate that money. And I remember, and I'll always talk about Lisa Johnson particularly with this, because she was the person that actually taught me the mechanics of how to work in the online space, which is where I began to really start to make meaningful money. I remember having a conversation with her, learning something, and me and my husband sat down. We'd just done a launch of my first speaking program, Be Heard, and we just did an online launch. We'd cobbled it together. It wasn't perfect. We made our first £16,000. Maddy nearly fainted. I remember the money coming through on PayPal at the time, because we didn't have any like proper payment structures or software in place. And my husband, and people are paying me like £1,000, £500. He's looking at me going, this works. Oh my goodness, you actually can make money doing this. Yes, you can, as long as you've got all the pieces around you. So I think that allowing yourself to find the people who are making money in the way that you want to make money, and allowing yourself to be jealous, go and learn.
ethically, and not being a complete and utter twat about
There
it.
you go.
So like, yeah, I mean, there's a line, isn't there?
Yeah.
But I think it's really important for people who are watching this, listening to it, wherever you're, consuming your podcast of Mad About Money, that you can completely start from nothing. And you don't have to go and do fucking surveys that pay you 20p an hour. You don't have to do like all of these stupid things that people tell you to do as side hustles. Go and create something around the thing that you love and be passionate about it and fucking show up. And that will help, We were normal people. We still are normal people.
I'm a very normal person. I mean, lots of people would argue I'm definitely not.
I mean, like, we can talk about that in a minute. I think, the people who listen to this podcast, I don't think any of us are normal. Everyone is normal, but that's another conversation. So what happened next?
So I came out of corporate, started working for myself and started making money. And an interesting thing started to happen when I started to make money is that I didn't keep hold of it. So I would start to pay for things for people. I would start to I had to do a lot of work around my worthiness to keep the money that I was creating. So, and that's still a work in progress. So I wasn't spendthrift. I wasn't like trying to spend my money on stuff that was, I didn't start to become like a mad ass shopper or anything like that. I started just like fritting my money away. But it was almost like I just couldn't keep hold of it. It was like sand in my hands. It just kept sort of falling through.
I feel you. I mean, I still struggle with that now.
Yeah.
So when I get money, I'm like, what can I spend it on? But then I'm always thinking, what can I spend it on that's going to push me forward in the right place?
Yeah.
And then it's like, whew, I don't have any money again because I've spent all that money. But then I know that I'm growing, and I think that is something important to realize. So
it was understanding that I can make it safe for money to stay. That I can make it. It turns out I'm actually great at making money. It's what you do with the money on the other side of it that was the thing that I am now. Only now that, and we're projected to turn over 1.3 million this year.
That's amazing.
But it's only now the movement of that money outside of the business so that it becomes actually my money. That's the next gear shift. So the money in the business, because turnover and profit and what you pay yourself and all of that are very, very different things. Turnover is the vanity. I could say 1.3 million, but my overheads are massive. My overheads are huge. Sometimes I could be paying out, £100,000 in a month to pay for something. So, I've got staff to look after now. So that 1.3 million goes very quick. But what I've now done, I've got an actual financial officer that properly works within the business now. I'm not just trying to cobble it together myself, and making plans for the money that I make to make money is the next step. Not just making money so that I can buy things, but making money so that, yes, I can buy things, but also I can have money that then makes money is that next level in wealth generation. So yes, it's brilliant. I can make all this money. Fantastic. But what then? Because you'll find that once people start to make money, they start to get things for free. They'll start to be invited into different rooms. It's very strange. It's very, very strange gear shift that happens when you move up on the wealth ladder. So then getting that money to make money is the next kind of hurdle. So first is you can actually make money outside of what you're being paid every month from either, your benefits if you're on benefits, or within your employment if you're in employment, and whatever. Then it's the making enough money and getting out of that scarcity and understanding that it's a treasure hunt. I get excited now. I've managed to gamify money making so that it hits all the dopamine receptors within me.
Yeah, absolutely. So every time you hit that thing of money coming in your email, you're like, yes. And this is weirdly why I also like doing affiliate marketing stuff, because sometimes I'm like, what do I sell? I haven't got anything of my own to sell. I need to sell something. Because I like sales. I'm good at sales.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what can I sell next? What can I do? And I'm like, oh, I'll sell this today and I'll sell that. And it's like, it's constant dopamine. So that's why I enjoy it so much.
I
And
think
people,
affiliate marketing as well, Maddy, is double dopamine, because yes, you make the money, but you're also helping someone else at the same time.
exactly,
So it's like double bubble.
yeah. Yeah, and I've got some really big plans actually this year for my affiliate marketing stuff. So
Lovely.
I'll talk to you about it afterwards.
Very exciting, very exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah, that the next bit for me was one, that I was capable in the first instance of making money, of applying the hustle to the mechanics of making money, and make sure that I deliver against that as well. Because for me, and for a lot of service providers that I know, it isn't about making money. Like
No.
I want to help people take up space. I want to help people feel included. So then I always feel I had to work through feeling weird for asking for money centered around that. But I was working so hard at it that it's right that I get paid. It's right that I'm worthy of getting paid. I put an incredible amount of time and energy and love and blood and sweat and tears into creating these events, into creating these speaker programs and helping people take up space in the world. It's okay to ask to get paid for that. It's
Absolutely.
okay. So, and then from there, once that money started happening, it's how do I keep the money? And then once you get to keep the money, how do I make the money make money? And that's been the journey so far. And that's the next bit of the journey for me.
And that's so exciting. So tell us about the documentary.
Oh, so So we've created a documentary called The Festoon Effect. So my event is called The Big Festoon. The reason it's called The Big Festoon is that bees do something really cool when they're building something new, is they link arms and they show the other bees where to build to. So they become like the bar setters for the rest of the bee community, and they show, they're the ones that show the boundaries to which we could go to and even break those boundaries. And I find that a really exciting concept. So the Big Festoon is about all these beautiful, big, small and medium-sized businesses coming together to link arms. So we've managed to grow that from a 50-person event to a 1,000-person event in 5 years. But because of the momentum that we've got now, we're building to a 10,000 delegate event. And we want to do that into 2026, 2027. Now, everything I've done so far, I've done not on my own, because I have an incredible team and an incredible community, but essentially on my own. Like I've been out doing the hustling, I've been out doing the kind of key person of influence stuff. And to get it to that, to create this, if I want to create the change that I want to create in the world, I need to move people toward me to help tip some fuel in the jets. So for me, I wanted to create a documentary that is inspiring, not just to the layperson so that they know where they can come to do this kind of learning, but also to bigger brands, bigger businesses who want to come and move towards us, to come and link arms and festoon with us to create this 10,000 plus delegate event, to take it over to the US, to Australia, out into Europe and so on and so forth. So everything I've been doing so far has been about creating it. So we've got a form, we've got a format. And now the next bit is about sharing with the world, the wider world, what it is that we know. So in my community, it feels like it's already huge. There's this ongoing joke that I'm famous, because I walk in rooms and I say, don't tell anybody, but I'm famous. And then that person will go and tell them, oh, I'm speaking to that famous person. I'm not. I'm just telling people that, so much so that it'll eventually become a self-fulfilling prophecy. But actually, that's not the case. Our community is about 60,000 strong, but we want to impact millions with this idea that we can be enthusiastically inclusive, safely inclusive, that members of the trans community have got somewhere to go to learn about business, that the Black community and the white community and the brown community and all of everybody can get together and actually have this safe conversation. Let's understand white privilege together. Let's move forward. How do we move the needle forward? How do we not, instead of you lot being correct over here and you lot being correct over here, you lot being correct over here, how do we move forward together? Because we all do well when we all do well. The rising tide raises all ships. So
it does. I love that.
It might sound like a bit of a utopia.
I'm getting a boat. It's a little sailing boat.
I love
And
it.
that is probably one that's going to go on my arm.
I love that.
And it comes from one of my favourite songs ever, by a band called Flogging Molly. And the line is, "Don't sink the boat that you built to keep afloat." And that is like, so yeah, it's for me, it's empowering, it's mental health, it's that, like, you're building something, don't fuck it up.
Yeah. And also that if you think about it, that the sea is the thing that keeps us all up or down, whatever that is. It's our job then to, if we're all vessels and we're allowing the tide to rise together, then it's up to us to, look out for each other, look out for each other's ships, see what the dangers are in front and help each other sail together. So it might sound kind of like utopian, but I don't think there's anybody else doing it right now. So we've created a documentary that shares the journey so far, shares the vision of where it is that we're going. And we've got a premiere in August that we're invited, and you're coming along. And
I'm so excited. Can't wait.
We're taking over Leicester Square View Cinema. We've invited members of the media, so on and so forth, to come and see what it is that we're doing, to see how we can link arms and make this, a real movement where we can start to take things to government, where we can start to take things out into the wider world. So it's very, very exciting. It's called The Festoon Effect.
I can't wait. And where can we watch it?
So until it's licensed, you can't. So we can share little snippets and little teasers and little trailers. But we are currently in talks with different streaming services and what have you about where that's going to be. So we've created it in-house first for us then to take it to license. So
it will get there.
Keep your peepers peeled.
Yeah. It's like writing a book, isn't it? Like, people self-publish first and then they get picked up by big people. I can see this on Netflix in a year's time. Right. It's going to fucking happen. And when, like, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And we can, right? Yeah. It's going to happen.
I've made absolutely no secret about the fact that, I want to be on the telly. I want to be able to be like a talking head for community and talking head for visibility and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm 40. I'm not waiting for people to invite me to the table. I will make the table and then invite people to my table.
Wedge in and get yourself
Come on, buy yourself a brew.
Absolutely. And with your favourite TikTok influencer on board, who is going to be filming the whole thing as well, it's going to get out there somewhere.
There you go. Dream team.
Oh, I love it. And your journey is just, it's mind-blowingly incredible.
Thank you.
And it's humble. You're a real person. You're a fucking lovely person. Because, you see all these, like, the people who are doing really well. And you sometimes think, they've only got there because they've been a total and utter twat and they've trampled all over people.
Yeah.
But we know for one that is not you, because you are a kind, genuine, loving person who I just fucking love. Like, I'm such a fangirl. I really am.
I'm grateful. Like, I've slept on a park bench before today. I've had to keep my babies alive before today. And I know what that is. Wasn't yesterday. Just kept drunk down at the pub and forget my way home. But like, once you've experienced that, once you've lost everything, you often find that survivors serve anyway. And, all of the work that I do in the outside. So I have the core business, but then we've got the Fly Anyway Foundation, where we help people who've experienced domestic abuse build businesses.
Yeah.
Like, look, I really mean it. Like, kindness is a superpower, and we need it now more than ever, for each other, for the world at large. Like, I am so over seeing people try and do things through just anger and the need to be correct. Like, what if we are more curious about each other? What if we can spread that more and more widely? Like, what dreams may come.
I absolutely love that. Let's talk really quickly, because we've got about 5 minutes left. Let's talk really quickly about neurodivergent conditions.
All right.
Because although not diagnosed, let's start there.
Actually, it's interesting. I've not felt the need to seek a diagnosis, because I'm surrounded by incredible educators in the neurodivergent space. Because I have a business that is thriving, because of all of these different things, I'm able to identify within myself the correct boundaries and learning styles and methods and allowances, and like dropping all of the guilt about the way that I am. Sometimes, I skirt close to the edge. I burn myself out. I have very special interests. I have fierce and intense relationships with people when I meet them, because they become my special interest. Like,
right. Lots of special people.
Or lots of neurodivergent people particularly will experience domestic abuse. Like it's fascinating the more that you kind of dig around in it, that a lot of my experience is there is a high probability that I have ADHD. Do I need to go and seek diagnosis in order to validate it? I don't think so, because here's where I think this is going. That we are the giants on which many more people are going to stand on the shoulders of in the future, where we are aware of what our requirements are as human beings. So if we think about the way that brains work, lots of different brains work in lots of different ways. When we understand that the boxes that we have been placed into by both capitalism and the patriarchy, I'm going to get my soapbox now, the boxes that we've been placed in, the cages that we've been placed in, have disallowed, for those of us that are within the spectrum of neurodivergence, doesn't allow us to function correctly. And so what's ended up, like, we've ended up experiencing inherent trauma that ends up begetting different behaviors because we've experienced trauma. It ends up being people don't understand that they have sensory requirements. I'm a very auditory person. Loops have absolutely saved my bacon in the past 2 years.
I have 7 pairs of loops.
Seriously, game changer. So when you start to understand what your sensory requirements are, then you can create your life centered around that. So for me, the diagnosis hasn't been the thing that I've pursued. Self-awareness has been the thing that I've pursued.
And that is so what I tell all of the people that I work with. Like, you don't have to be diagnosed. The only way that you know, the only reason why you would have to be is if you want medication.
And if that's required and that's necessary for some people.
Exactly. And I think I am such a fucking fruit bowl of neurodivergent conditions. I have literally all of them. I'm only diagnosed ADHD, but I know that all of the rest of them are there. And for me, meds helps me with the awareness. I can cope without them. I mean, I don't take meds every day. I also take supplements as well. Like, I've got these Get Doper. They're amazing. They smell horrific, but they are really good. And like, you can find out more in my bio about them. But yeah, it's genuinely a thing where it's about the awareness, about the self-acceptance, and you don't need to put a label on it. But what you do need to do is you need to have the awareness of it. The only reason I got my diagnosis was because I wanted to qualify and be a neurodivergent specialist. So I went and did my qualifications, and I felt like I couldn't be properly qualified until I had my label. And I know that that's a really weird thing, but
I think it's weird.
When I got it, I was like, it makes no difference to my life, because I knew already. I knew what I had. I knew what, because it's about that awareness. But for me, the kind of, I needed to step into my power. And having that diagnosis made me go, right, now I can be an ADHD money and business specialist. That is what I want to do. So I felt like it gave me that kudos of being able to do that. I didn't need it though.
100%. And also, a diagnosis for some people will allow them access to medication, to additional government assistance, which is absolutely necessary. I'm very lucky that I've got a support system around me, and I know how to employ around me in order to support me. So I am, because of the way that I am, I'm terrible. I'm great at ideas, find it difficult to execute. I'm surrounded by details people in my team. So I'm surrounded, like, they're not just my team, they're my carers. So they understand.
I don't know what I would do without access to work.
Right.
But you don't need a diagnosis to get access to work support.
Right.
I teach people about this all the time. You can get access to work support, which is support from the government, without having a specific diagnosis. You just need awareness. So
yeah, absolutely. But again, I think what diagnoses do are provide a logical aha moment for people who need it. Like, I remember a lot of my friends, particularly in the last 5 years, as this conversation is beginning to snowball. And this is because people are so tired of being inside the box. So you're finding that people are burning out, people are melting down, people are losing things because they aren't they don't know, they're not realizing it. So when we have this conversation, more people will go and have a look at, okay, so what is ADHD? What is autism? What is the autism spectrum? What does that look like? What is neurodivergence? What are sensory requirements? And then actually we'll negate the need for diagnoses further down the line, because guess what? We're aware that we all have different sensory requirements. My son has textural issues with regards to like labels and clothes and textures. Did I know that when he was 2 and I was trying to put him in a dress? No, right? So like it's the conversations like this that keep moving the needle forward, so that more people can understand that they might not necessarily need a diagnosis. They need to understand themselves and then be able to articulate that. So I think the education piece is massive. And then for the people who do need additional assistance, then that's there, and they can go and pursue that if that's what they need. For me, did I need it? Not particularly. Do I want to take money out of the government for access to work? For me, no. My business is doing good. I want someone else to have that money. Like, I just think that it's such we started this conversation 5 minutes before, like 5 minutes before we got to the end of it.
We did, and I have a call to go on to, but fine.
I feel like we should come back to like go into this as well. Like,
I think we should. Let's have a part 2. Let's schedule a part 2, because I am so here for that. Like, you can be my first ever part 2.
I love it. I've got so much to say about money and so much to say about neurodivergence. Like,
me too. We could just have like a whole day long podcast.
Let's do it.
Talking shit, like, all of it. So, Dani, where do people find you?
So across the socials, particularly on Instagram, at the Queen Bee Dani, all one word. And we've got all sorts of brilliant resources that you can get just by kind of jumping on there and getting into my DMs, send me a message. But yeah, at the Queen Bee Dani, loads of resources on there, but I'm across the socials on that.
Amazing. Also, we're going to tag you on TikTok as well. So TikTok is probably going to be where this podcast is. You can also watch it in Mad About Money app on YouTube, maybe Spotify eventually when they sort their shit out and let us back in, because we haven't released an episode for ages. Do you know what? Fuck it. This one's going to go out today, I think.
I love it. Let's tell everyone.
So yeah, it's going to go. So, Dani, it's been a pleasure. I will see you for part 2 very, very soon.
You will. Loads of love.